The government has set an incredibly lofty goal, of course, to double our exports in value by 2035. A pretty exciting goal at that, though. And to do so, we obviously need capital to invest. So who better to talk about economic growth than our next speaker, the Honourable Nicola Willis, the Minister of Finance, Minister for Economic Growth and Minister for Social Investment. We'll just have given her a moment to gather her thoughts, but please welcome to the stage the Honourable Nicola Willis.
Greetings, good morning everyone. It is awesome to be in a room of people who are quite literally growing New Zealand's future. I acknowledge you, the significant contribution you have made to New Zealand's exports over many years, the efforts you go to feed Kiwis, to employ Kiwis, and the huge role you will play in delivering a better future for New Zealand. Can I kick off by acknowledging the Chair of Horticulture New Zealand, Bernadine, and Chief Executive Kate, and admiring the leadership that you provide this sector. I was recently in New York, and you'd all be forgiven for feeling a little bit affronted by US trade decisions lately and the implications for their sector, for your sector. Regardless, I took myself off to a Whole Foods market, and within minutes of walking in the door of that market right in the middle of central New York, what did I see? I saw boxes of beautiful golden zestberry organic kiwi fruit. Then I went and had a rustle around and I saw Envy apples, organic Envy apples with the New Zealand brand in capital letters. I kept looking at the apple section, and what did I see next? A bag of Bostock organic Fuji apples. And what I saw there, in all of those products, was New Zealand's ability to sell a unique proposition to some of the wealthiest consumers in the world, who look at our food and see not only unique varietals, which have been created through decades of investment in intellectual property, science and research. But they also see products that they know are safe and are reliable, products that they know have been sustainably grown, and products that bring the special cachet of being all the way from that beautiful, clean, green country, New Zealand. And what I felt was pride. And what I felt was a sense of opportunity that exists for fruit and vegetable growers in New Zealand, who increasingly, I believe, will contribute to our growing reputation as a country that produces the world's best food and can sell that food at premium prices. And so you are very important as a sector to the government's economic growth plan. You are a sector that exemplifies our economic vision. You're high value, you're export driven, and you have untapped potential. Horticulture is, of course, already a powerhouse in our economy, contributing over $7 billion annually to our exports. It is the primary sector's third largest earner and employs more than 40,000 New Zealanders across the country. Not only do you deliver those premium products to global markets and bring revenue into the country, you also support thousands of people and communities across New Zealand. And so our government sees that to work with you to unlock potential requires partnership with your industry, listening to your needs so that together we can build productivity, open new markets and ensure our growers are equipped to meet global demand. I've enjoyed very much since becoming a minister, visiting some of your pack houses, your growers, your distributors and your marketers. And what I see consistently in these visits is a constructive spirit of here's what we're doing and here's how you, government, can help. I think one of the things that we sometimes don't do enough of in New Zealand is celebrate the successes that we have. So I just want to take a little minute to celebrate the outstanding success horticulture has had in the past year. A 19% increase in export revenue. That is extraordinary and reflects on the efforts of many. Kiwi fruit reaching $3.9 billion off the back of a difficult couple of years, demonstrating that growth can be continued. Apples and pears surpassing the $1 billion mark in a way that perhaps in the immediate wake of Cyclone Gabrielle felt like an impossible goal. Well, you've gone out and you've done it. Vegetable exports are up. Avocados, which have had challenges in terms of their seasonal weather factors, still creating a high quality crop and reaching some incredibly diverse markets offshore and demonstrating the proposition that that off-season market exists. Cherries having a record export year with revenue of $124 million. And all of this says to me that the government's goal of doubling exports is a shared ambition with your sector. And by aligning our policy with your industry expertise, we can grow smarter, we can export more, and we can build a more resilient economy. So I want to particularly commend Horticulture New Zealand and its partners on the Growing Together Aotearoa Horticulture Action Plan, which aims to double New Zealand's horticulture exports by 2035. This is your industry owning your future. It's a bold, forward-looking strategy, and it very closely aligns with the government's national economic objectives. Please know that the government is backing that vision, and we want to support you. And we aim to do so through support for infrastructure, through trade access, through regulatory reform to help our growers scale, and to help you compete globally. And before I take you through some of those concrete steps that the government is taking, having had that spirit of celebration, I do acknowledge also the challenges that your industry faces. In particular, I'm conscious of our flood-afflicted growers in the Nelson Tasman region who have been through a particularly difficult time. I acknowledge Horticulture New Zealand, Federated Farmers and others whom the government has partnered with to offer monetary and other support to help the recovery efforts in that region. Whether it's through the Farmers Adverse Events Trust, through the Rural Support Trust, collectively we are working together to ensure those growers get the help they need to get back on their feet. That's about advice, it's about information. Yes, it's also about particularly an investment from the government, but we know that we can't turn up there without the support of the wider sector, and I want to acknowledge everyone involved in that. And I also do want to come back to that elephant in the room, which is the US tariff position, and acknowledge that a 15% tariff is not welcomed by any of us. In particular, we know that growers are frustrated about what this could mean in terms of your relative competitive position in that market. And of course, there is much to play out to understand what this will mean for pricing on shelf, how markets will respond, whether trade diversion effects will occur. For our part, both me, Todd McClay, the Prime Minister, the Foreign Affairs Minister, have sought to advocate New Zealand's case that we are a very good trade partner to the US with complementary trade. However, ultimately, it seems we've been hit by the blunt rule that because we export more to the US than we import from it, we could not escape that 15% tariff. However, that does not mean that we sit back and accept it. In fact, what it means is that we are doubling down on our efforts to expand trade access into other markets and to ensure that New Zealand is well positioned for the future. Because we know that when we achieve better trade access, our exporters respond. In the year since we had the signing into force of New Zealand's free trade agreement with the European Union, we have seen a 62% increase in fruit exports to that region. taking that export value from $500 million to $811 million. That to me is a proof point that when our negotiators get you access, then you actually respond strongly, and consumers around the world want what you are selling. In April, we of course signed the agreement with the United Arab Emirates, which would eliminate 98.5% of duties. It's of note that horticulture is already our top export to that region at 47 million, but we see enormous capacity for growth in that market and in the Gulf Cooperation Council, where we also have a trade agreement to follow. But as you know, work to improve market access is not just about the big, shiny new agreements. And yes, we're going to keep pursuing a big, shiny agreement with India. We know how important that market is for you. But it's also about our ongoing program to address non-trade barriers and other market access issues that occur. And we've made progress with a new protocol for onion exports into Indonesia, a country recognition agreement with Indonesia. With the Māori kiwi fruit growers, first launch of kiwi fruit to Hawaii under a collaborative marketing campaign with Zespri, new access for kiwi fruit into Peru, apples into Egypt, blueberries into Korea, and reinstating access for kiwiberry to China. We're working on reducing trade barriers in Vietnam, Indonesia, and on a trade certification platform out of MPI to streamline your experience of export certification and the supply chain. These things are all testament to the fact that we recognise that without government, it's hard for you to open the doors to new markets. But of course, this is only one part of the government's agenda to support growth in your industry. The investment boost tax credit, which we introduced at the budget, we think is very significant because it ensures that you can get a tax write-off for the significant capital investments you are making to boost productivity in your industries. I've been delighted to see the developments happening across many of your industries, but in particular in the apple and pear industry, where we've seen work on new plantings, new varietals, increasing levels of automation in your pack houses. That kind of capital investment will make that industry more productive, delivering returns for workers and New Zealand as a whole. And our investment boost tax policy is designed to endorse that activity and promote more of it. We recognise that having an access to good workers and a good workforce is absolutely critical, which is why we made well overdue changes to the regional seasonal employment scheme last year, and why we have been working to expand roles under the seasonal visas, such as flower growers and horticultural mobile plant operators. We know if you don't have the workers, you can't sell the products. We also recognise that you are a sector that feels keenly the effects of red tape, particularly as they've existed for many years under the Resource Management Act. You'll be aware that we're consulting on the National Policy Statement for Freshwater Management, and we're seeking feedback on two particular proposals designed to enable commercial vegetable and fruit growers. These include a new objective in the National Policy Statement to enable confirmed domestic supply of fresh vegetables and to provide for crop rotation, and they include new national standards to permit commercial vegetable growers, and we look forward to the feedback on those proposals. We're also proposing new national standards for building water storage on land, which we recognise as a critical enabler of your industry. The red tape, of course, doesn't stop at the RMA. The EPA do a little bit of red tape too, and we are very alive to concerns from the sector about the slowness of approval pathways for agricultural and horticultural products, and we have a multi-pronged area of activity here, including changing legislation and regulation to speed up assessments, making more use of overseas regulators' assessments, a lighter regulatory touch on low-risk products, and working with your sector leaders to understand how we can make this system work better. We also recognise that for supply of fruit and vegetables to increase into the future, we need to ensure that we do a better job of capturing and storing the abundant water that already falls from the sky but too often goes wasted in New Zealand. It is a ministerial priority to progress water storage opportunities in New Zealand. In particular, we're doing that with our fast-track legislation, which already identifies 3 major projects: the Klondike Storage in Canterbury, the Balmoral project in Canterbury, and the Tukituki project in Hawke's Bay. But it's also, and at the same time, we've proposed amendments to the dam safety regulations in the Building Act. But it's also about us directly contributing to schemes, and through the Regional Infrastructure Fund, we have already contributed to some schemes which we think will be significant for regional development, and we are currently investigating several further projects which we believe would lead to increased economic and community growth. We are a government that wants to work with you. We're ambitious for growth, and we recognise that the government needs to be an enabler to ensure you have the skilled workers that you need, that red tape doesn't get in your way, that you have access to overseas markets, that the science system is responsive to your need for innovation and technology, and that you have the infrastructure you need to grow. We know you're ready to grow. We know you understand the value of growth, and we are ready to back you. So let's work together to double exports, to boost jobs, to build a food system that captures maximum value for the effort you and your growers put in. Thank you for having me today at your annual conference. It's a great opportunity to bring many players across the horticulture sector together to share insights, to tackle challenges, to shape the future of a thriving export-led industry. Thanks for your leadership, your innovation, your commitment, and I look forward to your questions. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much. We're having a bit of a trouble with the questions in this session, but we can take questions from the floor. And just while you're thinking of those, I'm not sure if you're aware, we have the CEO of Irrigation New Zealand, Karen Williams, in the room, so I could see across the room her eyes lighting up when you spoke about capturing and storing water. You're absolutely hitting those pain points there. Do we have any questions from the floor?
Oh, they're a shy bunch. There you go. Not normally the way for growers in this sector.
That's when you know also your speech is hitting the pain points and answering all the questions. That's absolutely fine. We can move on to our next session if everyone's happy.
Well, look, as I say, I've really enjoyed the visits that I've already had to several of your growers and to many exporters in the sector. So if you represent a group of growers that didn't get the shout out they deserve today, or you have a business that's doing something exciting that should have been in my speech, please reach out to my office. I like nothing more than visiting businesses which represent future opportunities for New Zealand. I'm conscious that after me you have a speaker from Walmart, and can I say again, as I said at the beginning of my speech, I'm really ambitious for New Zealand food growers, because when we partner with big guys like Walmart, like Costco, like Whole Foods, what they find is that our proposition sells. That's a path to more value for the future. So while I won't be here for his remarks, I have asked that I get a précis of what's said, and can I wish you all the best for your conference. Thanks very much. I've got one.
We're going to repeat that applause in just a few moments because we have had one question come through. Look, you've mentioned investment for export. What support is government providing for domestic market growth?
Yeah, look, for domestic market growth, that is going to continue to be important, because we know that top of mind for so many New Zealanders is the price of their grocery shop. And you are ultimately the people who are supplying the bulk of New Zealand's fruit and vegetables, and your ability to grow, to deliver to that market is really significant. So the support that we offer there, I think primarily is about making it easier for you to operate, and that we see a large area of cost and uncertainty for domestic fruit and vegetable production has been, in many regions, significant uncertainty about the consenting platform on which you stand. You know, I've met with growers in Horticulture who say, you know, it's pretty scary when you're virtually operating without a consent and you don't know what the future looks like. We're very conscious of that, and you've been top of mind for us in our RMA reforms, because we can't actually contemplate a world in which a government would literally turn around to New Zealanders and say, sorry, we're not consenting the growing of vegetables in New Zealand because we think it's bad for the environment. That doesn't make sense. It would be a lot worse for the New Zealand environment if Kiwis couldn't access fresh, locally grown vegetables. So our values on that issue are clear, and we are very conscious of the need to ensure that you face a stable, certain, consenting environment. The second thing that we think is important for local growers is that investment boost tax policy, because what it means is when you make those big capital investments designed to make you more resilient, designed to make you more efficient, designed to ensure that you can be more productive in future, we want to see you rewarded through the tax system for those investments. So investment boost is very much about domestic production and not just export production. And finally, through the work I'm doing on the grocery sector, I've been meeting with suppliers to the major supermarket chains to understand what we can do to ensure that that playing field, when you're engaging with the major grocery buyers, Foodstuffs and Woolworths, that you feel that you're facing a fair deal. And so you'll be aware that the Commerce Commission is looking at that supply code, and we as a government are conscious that when we get that right, it's not just important for your domestic sales and your ability to negotiate fairly with those grocery operators, but also when you get a good deal, it actually provides you a better platform from which you can expand into export down the track, should you wish. So, look, the domestic fruit and vegetable industry is very important to all of us. We should all be experiencing it at least 5 times a day, or 5+ a day, and we're absolutely backing you.
All right, thank you.
And now the questions are flooding in.
We've got time to get to one more, which has come through twice. In terms of investment boost, why are intangible assets excluded, PVR licences as an example?
Yeah, look, this is a very good question, and it's something that I have engaged with IRD on, which is essentially that this is about how the tax law works in general in terms of what we depreciate and what we don't depreciate. And as much as possible with investment boost, we've tried to carry over the existing expensing and depreciation rules so that we don't have an inconsistent framework. Certainly our intent is to encourage those investments which support productivity and innovation. So these are all issues that we are going to continue to look at and work through, because we want that scheme to be as well targeted and effective as possible. But thank you for putting the issue back on the agenda, and I'll make sure that I ask that specific question when I re-engage with IRD on the scope of the scheme.
And then our time has gone red. So ladies and gentlemen, the Honourable Nicola Willis.
Thank you.